Me.
We are connected to the
Oh shit.
to the internet. Okay. Oh, we're back. We're back live again.
Nice.
All right. So, where the hell did we leave off before Jose just destroyed the entire universe?
I have no idea.
Before.
Oh yeah. I was talking about that. Even though I don't do drugs.
Oh yeah. Even though you don't do drugs,
I
it's
do.
made legal for 2 people in Mexico.
Yes.
Me.
They didn't specify. They said,
Cool.
"Hey, did they say that it was legal? Like, how did that happen?"
I don't know. They don't go into details. Just
They
now
just said,
it's, right now it's legal for 2 people. That's all. Don't worry about who or why.
"Yo, what up, Dave? Davester P, rock and roller."
The thing I have a question about is like, why did they even bring it up?
Yeah, why didn't they even bring it up? They could just sweep it under the rug when it comes to
Because
this.
I guess it would have caused a lot more controversy if it would have been found out later. Because someone would have found out later. So I guess they would have been like, well, I mean, like, why did you
Well,
do
like,
it so shady?
Well, so the thing is, like, usually when laws are signed in, like, there's a date that is signed, so you could be like, hey, this was already signed by the judge on this date. Here's the time that it was done, and they're good. It was okay. We just, like, bringing it up makes it so much worse. It makes it so much worse.
Yeah, I mean, it just raises so many questions.
I know. Yeah. Trust
many.
me. Trust me. Some questions that everyone has, like, how can I get in it?
I know, right? How
I
can
know.
I be included in this party?
Yeah.
This party should not be for 2.
Yeah, but I do believe that at least it's something good because at least legally the law is in, and now and then
It can
after
be
that,
worked with. They
Yeah.
can alter it a little bit and say, hey, more people can do it.
Yeah, because same thing happened with legalization of here in the U.S. First it was Colorado, and then Washington, and then some other third state that everybody forgets about.
What?
Not us.
Nevada?
No, not us. Huh?
Not
Nevada?
No, I don't know. I don't know
Michigan?
who. But there's a third state. That, like in the very beginning, there were only 3 states in the U.S. that where marijuana was available for buy, and it was always Colorado and Washington.
Colorado, Washington.
And then there was a third one that everybody always forgot about.
Nevada?
I don't know who that was.
God, you don't even know.
Well, it
don't
could be
know.
like Vermont or somewhere.
No,
somewhere
I
no one
think
cares
it
about.
was Nevada.
Oh.
I mean, if you go to Nevada, you're doing it regardless.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
Chances
you're
are
right.
you're in,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
in
And
Vegas.
that's the
and-
bottom line.
Maybe,
Jose
maybe
said
it was
so.
California because also California had that that permit, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I think they only had a medical.
Yeah.
I don't think they were.
Yeah, because I know California they did have it for where you needed a card, but for they had it like that for the longest, but not where to the point where anybody could just like like in Colorado, you could just walk into any store and like give me 5 candies and 10
Yo
cigars.
quiero candy.
Yeah.
Okay. It's one hell of a drug. Next, we are moving on to the Sony Marvel split, and take us away, Jay.
What do you know about that?
Yeah, so I look at this and I think it's kind of funny because there's a lot of people who are mad about it. And most of the time I see most of the people I get see getting mad are actually at Sony, and I was like,
So wait, explain to the audience what is going on with the split. Or
so what happened with the split was that their contract had expired, so they were coming up to have renegotiations on what they wanted to do.
Marvel and Sony.
Marvel and Sony. So the original contract that they had was Marvel, the Spider-Man movies, Marvel was not making them. Even though we list them as Marvel movies, they are actually made by Sony. Sony is the one who finances them, pays for them.
and
It is-
produces
Sony
it.
are the producers because that's
Yeah,
that's the
so-
producer job. Okay.
So Marvel's producers on it, so they kind of just help with the movie, and they get 5% cut of the profits
That's it.
on the movie, 5%. But when you look at the fact that I think Far From Home made, I actually have the numbers. It was about $900 million.
You can pull it up.
Damn.
5% of $900 million on a movie that you spent nothing on is a lot of money. So when you
Yeah.
look at the fact that Sony technically still owns the rights. Sony never traded the rights back or gave them back the rights. Sony bought that for $4 billion, so they should have rights to do what they want to do with Spider-Man. So for, I think it's kind of odd that people are getting mad at Sony for being like, hey, like, we want to invest our investment and not give you 50% of the profits. So what happened with that was that the new deal that Marvel wanted to work out was that they wanted to be 50-50 co-financers with Sony on the movie. So they would both pay for half the movie, and they would split the profits. But the thing is, so I actually have this list, and I went and looked at all 23 movies in the Marvel universe.
23 movies?
23.
Wow.
23 pornos.
There's 23 movies in them, and if you look at where they all sit, I know Spider-Man was both of the Spider-Man movies. They were 8th and 10th in profit in the profit margin. So Homecoming was like 10th. I think that made around 600 million, and Far From Home was about 900 million.
I wish I could make 900 million.
So
I'll build a shit ton
Homecoming
of
made
communities.
$705 million.
105 million.
$705 million.
Oh, for which movie?
For Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Oh,
So
That's the only one I didn't watch.
So that was
like
the
that
first
one.
one. So I tell people the best way to think about this is think about this as if this contract was already in effect. If they would have done that, the numbers would have been Sony would have got $400 million for Homecoming and $514 million for Far From Home.
okay.
Now, we all remember Amazing Spider-Man 2 and how bad it did, which is why they wanted to redo Spider-Man, correct? So Amazing Spider-Man 2 made 500.
Was it a bad movie?
I know it was misdirected.
That's the one with Andrew Garfield, right?
That's the one with Andrew Garfield, and they had
like the
Jamie
first one.
Foxx as Electro, and then didn't have him really speak in the whole movie, which was odd. You have somebody as charismatic as Jamie Foxx, and then you don't use him.
Really?
Like, what?
They misappropriated him.
Yeah, so it was bad, but if they went through that with that deal, Far From Home, which is Sony's most profitable movie they've ever had, they would have made $6 million more than the movie that made them redo Spider-Man. It would have been the second worst Spider-Man movie on money. So you can't really be mad at them for saying, hey, we don't want to take only $500 million for our most profitable movie we've ever had, especially considering that each Spider-Man movie past that has made at least $550 million
What?
on profit. Every single one, all the old ones. So, and those aren't considered as good as the newer ones. So
That's true.
they're taking a chance on themselves. They've already got the framework. They have Tom Holland, who a lot of people like as Spider-Man.
Yeah. So
It's smart.
a lot of the things I've been reading, at least on Reddit somewhere, they said, what was it, Jake? What was the name of the first Spider-Man?
That was Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire made the best Peter Parker.
Correct.
Andrew Garfield made the best
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Yes.
Tom Holland makes the best overall. Like he makes a good meld between both characters.
I would agree.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I mean,
He's he's a pretty good awkward teenager, just like Spider-Man's supposed to be, and smart. Well, I don't know because they don't really portray him as like as smart as as Peter Parker's supposed to be, because Peter Parker's supposed to be really smart.
I feel like in the most recent Spider-Mans, they haven't been pushing how intelligent he is. He is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know in the cartoon series, oh man, they push that.
And
Well, I mean,
comics.
Yeah, even the comics. He has in the comics he has Parker Industries. Like Peter Parker in his own right is as smart, if not smarter, than Tony Stark in certain things, in certain fields.
Sergio Pena says, Earl, hearts.
Peter is one of those people who's ridiculously powerful. He's extremely fast, extremely quick. He's extremely smart. He's up there with at the like some of the later parts of the comics. When you talk about heroes in New York, there is Parker and Parker Industries, to the point where Spider-Man doesn't even need to be Spider-Man. He does so much stuff that he doesn't even need to be Spider-Man. He's got that much tech that he can I can make a jabroni off the streets.
Yeah, but the thing is that isn't Peter Parker supposed to be more of a science guy, while Stark is more of a tech guy?
Yes, that's one of the problems I felt that I had with the movies. They made Tony extremely smart beyond
like
any logic.
Like where he was into quantum physics and all this shit.
Well, that was the thing. So
where did you become a quantum physicist?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not
like it made no sense. So it was like he had problems building certain certain stuff, and it's like, oh, how do I come to this how do I fix this solution? Then it's like, oh, I understand quantum mechanics now. Or you look at the stuff like the Infinity Gems. You look at the fact that they had to reverse engineer the gauntlet because Thanos destroyed it when he had used it. When they see him in the movie, it's gone. That gauntlet is jacked. So he was able to find a way to control the power of the gems that in every other movie before this, they couldn't do anything with. They're like, what is this? I don't know. This is just so
unlimited
powerful.
Power.
Yeah, now I can hold like 6 of these and use it in my armor, and it's completely fine. It's like, what? When did you learn that? When did you learn that you could get...
Yeah, because well, remember, no, the ones who made that gauntlet were the dwarfs of something that the Asgardians were supposed to protect. Because and I think that the reason why they were the only ones who could make that was because they were really good at making all kinds of weapons.
So, and that's the crazy thing.
Yeah, and really, and Tony really in like.
And then Tony reverse engineers that. So
the whole thing is like.
So his metal is as good as Thor's hammer.
Yeah.
In argument.
Yep, technically, yeah, because they were the ones who also make Thor's hammer. So he should be able to duplicate Thor's hammer.
So like it just like it doesn't make sense. It's like no, Tony's not that smart.
Well, actually, it's nanotech.
Yeah, even that. So that's the thing. Actually, in the comics, he actually does have that nanotech.
I know, but really, it's like nanotech. It doesn't work like that.
The Heartbreaker. I think it was the Heartbreaker armor set that he had. It's like Mark 60 or something.
Yeah. So let's bring it back to the Sony Marvel split. Sergio brought up Sony did Tom Holland and the MCU fans wrong. Those greedy bastards. What was your opinion on it, Jay?
Again, I don't think that's being greedy. If I spend $4 billion on a piece of property, I own that property. Yeah. I own that property.
I thought
the same argument that people use that I look at this way. So Marvel bought Disney. Or Disney bought Marvel.
Yeah.
So they own Marvel stuff. Well, why did they? How do they own Marvel stuff? Because they acquired it when they purchased it. What did Sony just do? Sony purchased the movie rights to Spider-Man. If they want, they can make Spider-Man completely stupid and fall off of buildings. And Marvel has no say in it because they bought the rights. That's what happens in this country. When you buy something, you own something, you have the rights to it. So I think it's unfair to say that they shouldn't be able to do what they want with something that they bought.
I thought that Sony just they had like an exclusivity rights to Spider-Man. Not that they owned it. I thought that they had it for like 20 years or something like that.
So they own the rights to the movies, and like it's pretty much the intellectual property, and there's rules on it. I don't remember all the rules, but I think it's like they have to make a movie X amount of every years, or they lose the rights to it. But they technically own the rights to Spider-Man. They can do whatever they want with Spider-Man. It was the same thing with why they had to buy Fox, why Disney had to buy Fox.
So just so they could also get the X-Men.
Yeah, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four.
Yes.
Both of those were owned. Same thing like Disney technically owns, I think Alien was also part of Fox.
Disney wants to buy up like so much intellectual property.
Well, and so that's why I tell people when people talk about greed, I'm like, y'all understand that this is Disney we're talking about. Disney is probably the greediest company ever. Disney is actually one of the, getting off subject for a second, but Disney is actually one of the companies that actually changed the way that we look at copyright law and things going into what is it called? It is the public domain. So
I've heard about that.
So after something's out for a long enough time, it goes into public domain and anyone can write on it. So that's actually coming up with Batman and Superman. I think in like the next 20 years, within the next 20 years, both of them go into the public domain, and literally Marvel can, like, Superman and Batman are in Marvel Comics.
Same way like they do with Mickey Mouse.
Exactly. Mickey Mouse goes up at the same time.
Yeah, because Mickey Mouse is like almost 100 years by now and still technically privately owned.
Yeah, so that was the problem. Mickey Mouse was a copy of another character, or was a copy of Steamboat Willie, who was a copy of another character.
She's gonna get us.
But they got the law changed. They got the law changed on that. Cinderella. That Disney didn't make that. That's a fairy tale. That was a fairy tale back in the 1800s.
Yes.
All of their property that they own is stuff that they took from the public domain, and then they just changed a few things and were like, "Oh, we own this now," and we own it for like 80 years, and no one could ever do anything with it. So yeah, no. I think when we're talking about greed, I just tell people you have to look at the numbers, and I just say look at it as like, let's say you were at work and you were getting a 5% commission, or your work was taking 5% of your commission out of your paycheck, and then the next day you come in, they say, hey, we're actually going to take 50% of whatever you make.
Like a taxes?
It's crazy. That's absurd. Like, taking 50% of what somebody makes off of something is just ridiculous. And again, I go back to just the whole, if you look at the most profitable movie that they've ever had at Sony has had, which is Spider-Man Far From Home, they would have actually made literally only $6 million more than the movie that literally made them restart Spider-Man. They said, hey, this didn't make enough. We have to reboot Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And the best movie they would have had would have made $6 million more than that. You can't take that deal. That's a horrible deal.
Yeah, I mean, from a fan point of view, it sucks. Mm-hmm. But from a business and money point of view, it makes sense.
Yeah, and the thing is, I keep telling people, like, you just have to see. I think people are assuming that it's gonna suck, because Tom Holland's still signed to do another movie. There's still another Venom movie that's still that Sony's looking to make.
Is Venom part of the Spider-Man universe?
Yes, it is part of the Spider-Man universe.
Okay. Yeah, so they own that too.
Unless Sony's kind of gonna be alright, like, here's your paycheck for us breaking the contract and goodbye.
So here's the thing.
I mean, they could also do that.
They just let it lapse. So like, pretty much when they had to renegotiate. That's why a lot of people, I tell people, they don't understand like how bad of a deal that was. Usually if a deal is at least reasonable, you come back with a counter offer. Yeah. Let's say if you say, hey, give me 10%, I'm like, give me 25%, I'm like, I'll give you 10%. You're like, hit me with the 15%. We might be able to work with that. Okay. They didn't even like entertain that idea. They said, no, we'll give you that 5% on the profits. That's absurd. 50-50, that's absurd. That's where you make all your money at in movies. Mm-hmm. You put, just to give you an example, because I do have the numbers here right now. I think the Spider-Man movies only cost $160 million.
160 to make?
Yeah, $160 million. And they made, Far From Home it was like the $960 million. So, damn, it's like, why would you ever do that?
I wish I could make like a percentage of that.
Yeah, so let me give you an example. In-game.
1% of that.
I'll be happy with that.
Look how much money In-game made. In-game made $2 billion. It was like $2.4 billion. They spent $360 million to make that movie.
That's huge profit margin gain.
So imagine somebody saying, we want to take half of that.
Who's going to say that?
So that was the thing. That's what Marvel was trying to do. They wanted 50% of every Spider-Man movie that they would make.
Yeah, so Sony was like, fuck that.
And here's the worst thing about it. They wanted 50% of that, but when Spider-Man showed up in a Marvel movie, they weren't going to get paid.
So Sony wasn't?
Sony wasn't going to get paid. Because they don't get paid for when he shows up in Captain America. Sony doesn't get anything from that.
Really?
Nothing. Zero.
Wow.
Zilch. Because it was supposed to be mutually beneficial. Hey, you guys don't pay for our movies. We'll give you 5% to help us make the movies, and we won't charge you for using him in your movies.
So why would Sony ever agree to something like that?
So that's why I try to get people to understand when they're saying Sony is greedy. No, Disney is definitely the one that's greedy on this end. So why would they agree to that? They wouldn't. That's why they didn't. It's 50-50 plus any of your movies we don't get paid for. So realistically, you're making like 60% off of a property that I own. No. No.
Yeah, because I mean, I do see the fans in an uproar about it, but there always is two sides of the coin. Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up that way.
Yeah, you always have to. That's the big thing. I always tell people, you always have to look at the research. You have to research stuff, and you have to look at where the money's going, and then just
look at everything objectively.
Just look at the facts, and just tell people. Obviously, everyone wants to see Spider-Man. Spider-Man is probably one of Marvel's hottest commodities.
I love Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's great.
I love when Marvel made Spider-Man, that was cool because honestly, Sony not that great at making movies.
They're really not.
They made the Final Fantasy movies. I like those.
The what? Final Fantasy?
Yeah, Spirit Within, and no, you guys don't like that shit.
I like to have children only because Tifa was a boss.
I did like seeing her fighting.
Well, that's my wifey.
Waifu. Okay. So in conclusion, the Sony Marvel split was a smart business move for Sony.
Yes.
And a loss. Well, it was pretty much like a greedy take from Disney, because Disney knows that everyone's at least all the fans are going to argue like, give us this shit.
Yep.
Over it. Well, I mean, Spider-Man did work. I mean, Spider-Man in the Avengers, it worked very well.
And it did.
Yeah, and it did, and it got pretty much what Marvel wanted, to get all the fans riled up, like. Yep. Like, yeah, I mean, look, he fits perfectly. And he was supposed to be the next phase of the Avengers.
And that's why I think is the most messed up thing about it is that looks like that had been Disney's plan the whole time.
I was going to say, do you think Disney did it on purpose?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I mean, look at how they built Spider-Man. Spider-Man was
make him the face. Make him the face of Marvel, of the Avengers. Yep. And then, in case that Sony wants to pull out, see? No, look at him. They're the bad people.
It's like... No, like I said.
Yeah. So basically, all in all, is publicity wise, Disney is trying to make them look like the bad guys.
Yep.
I mean, we all know that fucking Disney is like trying to be the big
Disney
boss hog.
Is the best part.
And again, I keep going back to. I tell people the thing is you have to follow. You have to look at where it's at, and I think a lot of people don't understand.
Follow the money.
You have to follow. Yeah, that money. I don't think a lot of people understand how little some of these Marvel movies made, and they just assume, oh, well, the Marvel movies were so great. And I was just sitting there like, again, going back to my whole big list I got. If you look at, let's see, we'll use the weakest Spider-Man movie, the one, or Amazing Spider-Man 2, because that made the least amount of money. That only made like $508 million in profit. That is, every movie, Doctor Strange, which we could all agree was a pretty good movie, right?
Yeah, she was awesome.
That made less money than the weakest Amazing Spider-Man movie.
Really?
Yeah, made less money.
Yeah, so I mean,
wow.
So if you're Sony, why would you take that deal?
Yeah, deal or no deal, Carlos. Wow. All right, so let's move on. We're talking about an asteroid headed for Earth. So I've been when I've been looking up in a lot of the feeds and whatnot, I've been seeing a lot of like pop-ups with, not pop-ups, but a lot of things on my feed about an asteroid heading towards Earth. It's on a collision course and whatnot. Go ahead.
That's what the headlines want you to believe. It will get really close. It is a pretty big asteroid. It's gonna get close. It's going to pass, but it's not gonna crash on Earth. But it might get, because it will be between the Earth and many weather satellites. Yeah. That's how close it's gonna get.
So here's the thing that I saw, that it may or may not be on a collision. So right now it's in our direction.
Yes, it's coming this way.
And it may or may not be on a collision course due to it maybe getting slingshotted by gravitational pills of other planetary objects.
Yeah, that is the thing, because it's gonna get so close to us. Like I said, it's gonna pass between satellites. So between the Earth and other weather satellites, that's how close it's gonna get. So if there's any small deviation, it could either pass us by a longer shot or actually get a little bit closer. Because if it gets any closer than that, it will be attracted by the it will be caught by the gravitational Earth.
Gravitational pull.
Gravitational pull.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So and it is a pretty big asteroid as well. So it might, when it hits, if it hits Earth, wherever it hits, it will be a disaster.
Pretty much.
It's another world extinction, mass extinction type.
Not extinction,
not to that level,
but it will be felt, and it will cause a lot of destruction. Because if it hits on water, which most likely will,
tsunamis everywhere.
The tsunamis are just gonna be hundreds, maybe up to a mile high waves. Mm-hmm. So I mean, there's gonna be waves the size of buildings just coming in, rushing in. So wherever, it doesn't matter where it hits,
Yeah.
In the ocean. If it hits on land, it will pretty much
Be felt tectonically.
like the entire like
the land.
think about an earthquake all over the world.
In other words, it's still gonna be planetary devastation.
Yes,
I mean,
they're gonna be
that's
cities destroyed.
It would change. It would change the world as we know it.
Yeah, I mean, it also goes into the fact that a lot of scientists have been pushing towards saying is like, hey, let's get the move on for us, moving off planet or like colonizing our solar system or something. That way, if maybe our little nest egg of Earth gets fucked up, we can still survive in other outlets.
But the thing is that asteroid's a couple of years worth away. I think about 10 years away.
Yeah.
But still, it's
I thought they said they were like not sure how long.
Well, I mean, maybe because the last thing I heard about that, it was like about 10 years away.
There was so many different publications talking about it. Yeah,
because no one really is, because the bigger companies like NASA, or the biggest organizations like NASA, they're not really talking.
They're not talking about it. Yeah,
because they don't want to be the ones to say something and then cause
a lot. Yeah, mass panic.
But I mean, even if we were to, I mean, we don't even have. I mean, what are we gonna do? Go to Mars?
Susan, you wild.
We don't have anything in Mars.
Well, and I think that's honestly, I think that should be the first thing that we need to do. Just because we don't know how long we're gonna be here, and like recolonizing is obviously something that's important, but it will take time. It's gonna take a lot of time.
Definitely at the very least start with the moon.
We need a way to defend the Earth from something like an asteroid.
And also just like us taking care of the shit that's already here.
I mean, that's number one. Yeah.
I mean, there's been research done on landing on asteroids that they could literally mine it for resources. So it's not something that we wouldn't be able to do. It's just that most people don't take it seriously enough that they're like, oh well, I think a lot of people have a lot of the mentality that some of the people who do like, bomb defusal have, where it's like either we're fine or it's not my problem anymore. Because if it hits, it's not their problem.
NASA could actually do a lot of those things if only they could take. If only their budget was increased by about 10 or 20% more, they could do a lot of those things.
And that's the sad thing. That's why I always tell people
But instead of increasing, it's shrinking their budget.
They shrink it all the time. It literally blows my mind. And the thing is, like, it makes no sense considering that, again, we're running out of space. We're running out of resources here. It's not going to be in the next 10 years or nothing, but it's one of those things that we should always be looking to expand, and you should always be looking to grow. And it's one of those things that, well, you can't grow on this planet. There's a limited amount of space. Well, where do you go? You go to the stars. You look at moving out. And it's just like, I just think it's kind of sad because...
And that's when I joined Starfleet.
Star Force. But no, we actually had, bringing up a meteorite, there was actually a meteorite that was only a few hundred miles away from Earth. I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks ago. That passed by, and it was smaller, but they were like, if it would have hit a city, it would have wiped out that city. And we didn't even know about it until like a day before it happened. It happened like a Tuesday.
I heard about that. Yeah, like it literally sneaked between. It sneaked out of. It came out of nowhere, and people were like, "What the hell?"
They're like, "Oh, dude, like there's a meteorite that could have hit Earth. Like that all would have almost was bad." It's like, yeah, that shouldn't happen. That's a very important thing that we need to shore up. It's kind of one of those things that they always say that you have to defend what you have first before you can start looking to expand. If you were defending something, you had like a base, you need to be able to defend that base. Earth is our base. We need to be able to know what's coming here, if something was going to strike us, and need to be able to deal with that. And then once we have that underground, okay, well, let's look to expand. Let's expand what that base is. Let's expand those fences. You have to look to better stuff, and the sad thing is, it's just that like we don't put the money into research that we should for the stuff that's gonna keep us alive. Because you're looking like in America, we have like this massive amount of military spending. It's like, well, what do we do about stuff like research?
Because a lot of there's so much money going to the military, but literally a lot of problems in the U.S. could be solved if we started actually reducing. For instance, I think like the entire educational problems right now will be solved by just taking 5% from the military spend right now. Just taking 5% from that, the entire educational system will just be fixed. Like no more money problems. And then 10% of that given to NASA, and NASA will be able to do pretty much anything that they want. Yep. And then it just because so much money is going to the military that we need to. And then also even if we could take like a percentage or two from the military budget and just invest it into the country itself, like just the public transportation, we could actually get pretty good trains, and we could start building a lot of the public system, the public transport system.
Oh my god.
Chill,
oh my god.
Chill.
Yes, thanks for the subscription. You scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, well, like that, and the thing is, that's the thing I love.
Welcome to the Ghost Squad.
About research, I tell people like one of the best things is I've always said my plan on, or I guess I should say my stance on what America is supposed to be is that we should look at the way that we romanticize ourselves. Mm-hmm. We should be Big Brother, but we should be Big Brother in the way that, hey, if injustices happen in this world, we will be there. But for the most part, it's not about military strength. It's about we give you a chance here. There should be research done all the time. We have a benefit that no other country has.
We should advance humanity in general.
Yeah, we're a multicultural country where we can pull some of the best people of every country into something. Hey, let's say we want to do research on robots. Let's say we wanted some Gundams, some anime mech suits. We wouldn't do that, but let's just say we did. Okay, well, who's the leading?
You didn't watch Pacific Rim?
So the thing, I have.
I know, I'm just playing.
So the thing is, it's like that's not something that's crazy, that to think that is capable to do. Japan actually built a Gundam. And they were like, hey, we could actually make this operational if we really wanted to.
We kind of did. Didn't you watch the fight between the U.S. and Japan?
No.
They actually did. Like there was a Gundam fight between, but it was so bad. It was so hyped, and it was very disappointing. It was like over in a couple of minutes. Just like my sex life.
Oh.
Well, and so here's the fun thing. I look at it this way. So let's say that whatever we want to build, you take some of the leading scientists from Germany, you take some of the leading scientists from China, leading scientists from Japan, you take some of the best people from around the world, and now you've got a think tank that no other country has because they're not that open. It's a lot harder for them to do stuff like that. That's what our country's supposed to stand for. So it's just like, it always has blown my mind that we don't put more money into research and manufacturing, because we can make stuff that no other place on this planet could make because of our inherent ability to say, hey, well, we're multicultural because our country is built on being multicultural. It's just, I don't know, it's weird.
But
I want a shot of that.
Yeah, give us a shot.
That was supposed to be
Crunk juice?
You're supposed to not react to that.
But yeah, so Asteroids Heading Earth, we talked a lot about like so I mean this podcast or this episode has been heavily on environmentalism.
Yeah.
A lot of
save the rainforest.
Yeah, economics and all that.
Save the Amazon and rainforest.
I know. What can we do as our parts as humans to save our world? And so yeah, that was episode 19 of the SNP podcast. We're actually going to be shooting episode 20 tomorrow. Woo. So this is going to be a twofer for this week because we missed 2 weeks. We were gone for a week. So make sure you subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Well, actually, we still have to make that Twitter. Twitch, and
our website. Follow
our website. SNP. What was the website?
I don't know. We'll post it later.
Yeah, we'll post it in the description. And make sure you support us. See you guys next week.